Hello, good night. This is U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharp. I'm here live to take your U.S. immigration related questions. So go ahead and put your questions in the comments now so that I can answer your question. It's very good to see you, and I am looking forward to those questions. Put them in the comments. Tonight, I am only focused on questions. So as soon as you know that you have that question, put it in the comments. One thing I do want to tell you is as we see changes happening, and I've been reviewing those changes, one thing that I've noticed is it nothing in these policies makes it impossible to still apply. There is still relief available. You have to make sure you're doing it the right way. And that's our job. Our job is to keep up on those changes and make sure that we are implementing the changes in our process. One thing I usually do is we are very thorough at the law firm, and I practiced during the last Trump administration. So I'm very much aware of how things were back then. And we had to, when we were applying for immigration benefits during that time, we had to make sure that we understood the procedural requirements and we abided by them to make the process smooth for our clients. And here's the funny part is I never really changed there are certain things I didn't change in our processes just in case something like this happened where we started to go back to the types of procedures and policies. And that has benefited us greatly because it means that we are prepared. We have been prepared to present our cases in a thorough manner, approach each element or each procedural requirement with precision. So it's not impossible. None of this is impossible. It's just that you have to make sure that you're doing it right. And one thing I want to say to you is if in any doubt at all, if you have no idea how the process works, now when you're gonna applying is not a way to learn that. If you don't know what order to apply in, what exactly to submit, how you're gonna submit it, you need to make sure that you're consulting an attorney at least, because it really comes down to if you look at it like a game, and it's not a game, but what I mean is if you look at it as you have to follow the rules of the game, right? You're going to win when you follow the rules of the game. And it's similar, right? In that there are hurdles that you have to overcome. And part of overcoming those hurdles is being able to meet the challenge of certain complexities, certain procedural requirements that may be strange to you, but it is totally familiar to us as attorneys, definitely familiar to me. So we adapt quickly as immigration attorneys. Immigration laws change very quickly. And, I would want the changes to happen in a way that we could celebrate maybe more access to immigration benefits, but that's not the case. And so it's how can I and this law firm and my team still enable people to gain access to the relief that they qualify for, right? And that's what we facilitate. We're able to identify, so you don't have to do the figuring out. We identify whether you qualify and jump straight into getting to it, right? And we can advise you along the way. We can help you to make informed decisions along the way. And if you are at a higher risk for any kind of policies that's going to hurt you or your family, we can tell you about it before you learning it the hard way, right? And then you can change course or you can change the strategy based on the legal advice we give. So give us a call. We're 24/7 We have opened the lines 24/7 to be able to help as many people as possible. Whether you're going for immigration benefits, work permit, asylum, T visa, adjustment of status, marriage based, family based, consular processing if you're outside of the United States, and removal defense. We are helping immigrants to be able to navigate defenses before the immigration court and to seek release through bond in immigration court or before ICE even. So go ahead, put your questions in the comments and I will answer. I see questions coming in. So today I'm going to start on TikTok and then I'm going to work my way over to Instagram. Can we reschedule the USCIS appointment for asylum case? It's possible. It all depends on the reason. So you should, if you know, the minute you know you have to reschedule, you need to contact them and follow their procedures to reschedule that appointment. Sometimes they may deny that request, so you need to be on top of it in case you need to make a different arrangements. Thanks for the gifts. Thanks for the love. I appreciate it. We moved to another city. Okay, so if you move to another city, then you definitely should let them know so that they can send the file to the office that is closest to you in your city. But you have to do it ASAP. What is I got proof green card after I got to UI first offense. I think DUI first offense. Is it safe to? I'm not sure what that means to travel. Okay, so you got your green card after you, and then you got your green card after you got your a DUI first offense. So if you got the green card after you got a DUI charge and they know about that DUI charge and they went ahead and approved you, then it should not be anything new to them. Now, can I advise you whether it's safe to travel? I still wouldn't be able to advise whether it's safe to travel. I say having a criminal record, even whether it was before or after the green card, still presents an heightened risk depending on the facts in your case. Did you disclose it in your green card process? Did they fully get to evaluate it? And is it clearly documented that you provided information and they still approved your green card? What are the requirements to be a U.S. citizen? So you have to maintain physical presence usually in the last 5 years. You have to show continuous presence in the last 5 years. You have to show good moral character, which they've changed that substantially. So it's not just about completing forms. You have to really present the application. I would say it's similar to applying for the best job of your life. You have to show that you deserve it. And remember, when you're applying for the best job of your life, you're going to present a resume. You're going to show them the diverse experience that you have that now has brought you to the point where you deserve that position. So it's citizenship is now going to be very much like that. We can definitely help you to put a solid application together. We first have to make sure you qualify and then move forward from there. If you make a mistake on your paperwork and just forgot to put a line through the mistake, is that okay? It may not be okay, right? If you don't correct the mistake. So it's very important that you make sure you correct the mistake. You either have to contact them. I don't know what application, or don't know what the mistake is. It may be harmless, but it may not be, because sometimes making mistakes on applications, for example, maybe forgetting to put children on the application or thinking you didn't have to put your children on the application, can actually be a detriment. They can accuse you of fraud or misrepresentation, right? They can insinuate that's the case if there are certain omissions. So very important that you get legal advice, talk to your attorney, or get representation. And this is why I say it's so important to do that. Is it from the time you file T 8 months for BFD EAD? Yeah, so I would say right now, yeah, about 8 months. But keep in mind, guys, this is based on my experience. I am not a fortune teller. I'm not a predictor. I am an attorney that's going off of, because it's more useful to go off of the experience based on the hundreds of cases that we have filed. However, keep in mind that they do have processing times on their USCIS website, that it does go over a longer period of time, because it's showing the shortest period of time and the longest period of time. So it's hard to see what the average case time is. But me telling you it's about 8 months does not mean now you're going to count exactly 8 months, and if you don't get it, that means something is wrong, because every case is different, and even I don't control USCIS processing time. So just keep that in mind. I'm giving estimates, so don't get lost in what I'm telling you, because it might be different for you. How much is real waiting time for I-601 waiver with approved VAWA? So I would say it can be up to 2 years right now. Sometimes, if you have an adjustment of status pending, they may approve that shortly after the interview. If all being well, you get an approval. How long can a permanent resident holder stay outside of the United States? You shouldn't be exceeding 6 months. And guys, it's more important than ever that you stick within the timeline. I would say 6 months is even pushing it. You don't want to test how long you can be. You don't want to test it to the max. So, right? Don't test it to the max. Just make sure you're keeping it under 6 months. Um, I've been a 10-year green card holder for 3 years, but I'm separated but not divorced. Can I apply for citizenship? No. If you are not living in marital union with your spouse, that 3 year is not going to apply to you. Um, Is it okay to file N600 after 18th birthday, or is it too late? No, it may not be too late. It just depends on what triggered you getting citizenship. So that's what we have to know. It's on your 18th birthday, but did you acquire citizenship before that, based on, for example, a parent? If that's the case, you can still go for it. And it also, keep in mind, N600 serves different purposes. So we first have to see, did you derive citizenship in some way before your 18th birthday? And then determine whether you qualify to file the N600. So give us a call and let's talk about it. What is the criteria for a 76-year-old woman filing for citizenship? I had a dear client who was here, who was actually in her 80s and went for citizenship. I think the biggest thing she was worried about is the test. Actually, I've had two elderly clients that I can remember, and the number one concern was the test. So with one of my clients, she passed with flying colors. She studied for it. Her memory was very good. With our other client, she had memory issues connected to a number of medical problems in the past. We were able to get a medical waiver for her, and she didn't have to do any of the tests. So but keep in mind that a physician has to then explain why is it that they can't do the test based on these medical conditions. How does it affect memory? How does it affect the ability to read or write or learn English? So, that you do have to make sure that you have the supporting documentation, especially now, because they're still not going to make that very easy to get the waiver. Um, I got proof green card after I got, so I answered that. Let's see. Great questions. Keep them coming. And I am coming to Instagram. I'm coming to YouTube and Facebook soon. So hang tight, everybody. Is it okay to file re-entry permit to stay outside of the US? before leaving the US. You absolutely have to file that before leaving the US. Yes. If you need assistance with it, give us a call, but you need to file it before you leave the US. Now, that is, I'm glad you brought this up, because if you have to stay outside of the United States for, say, a period of 2 years or more than the 6 months, then the reentry permit will allow you to do that. It's basically giving you permission to do that. And it also preserves your ability to apply for US citizenship. So it doesn't affect your continuous presence and your physical presence. Very important. A lot of people overlook the continuous presence and the physical presence, the continuous residence and the physical presence in the United States requirements. Very important that you abide by those. So you can travel. It's not to say you can't go on vacation as a green card holder, but you should not be doing it to the point where you are outside of the United States for less than so for continuous residence for more than 6 months, and for physical presence, you have to be in physically present in the US for at least half the time of the statutory period, which is 5 years. So you must make sure that you can qualify for those. Um, how long after my case was documentarily completed do my interview in Juarez? So expect a year to a year and a half. Um, can a green card holder file for spouse for AOS doing the I-130 and I-485 at the same time? Great question. Now, here's the deal. You must make sure to do that. You have to make sure you meet very specific criteria. When your spouse is, your immigrant spouse is here in the US and you're thinking about doing AOS, priority date must be current. Their visa must not be out, it must still be current and valid, right? And you can, if both, now keep in mind that if you file the I-130 and while your I-130 is pending, your priority date becomes current, you can file that AOS. However, if you haven't filed an I-130 yet, right, and you're thinking about filing it now, it's very unlikely that you're going to be able to file AOS and I-130 at the same time. If what I'm saying is sounds really cumbersome, it's time to get assistance, because we have to look at those things. The conditions have to be right. And if you are having a hard time identifying priority dates, making sure visa is current, right? Before filing AOS, visa has to be current. And, strategically, if you file the I-130 now, can you file AOS at the same time based on the priority date? Those conditions are the three things you have to look out for, and they have to be right to be able to file for your immigrant spouse as a permanent resident. Now, if your immigrant spouse is outside of the United States, that's a different story. You can file the I-130, and then once it's approved, it goes to the embassy, and then they wait for the priority date to become current, then they do the interview. So it just depends on your goal. I know you asked about the AOS though. And this goes for everybody. It's our job to figure it out, right? And to understand the processes, requirements. But at this time, I would say if you don't understand what needs to come first, or if you can even file, get legal advice, because now is not the time to experiment. Thank you for the gifts. I appreciate it. I appreciate it because when you submit likes and gifts and engage this live on TikTok, it means that people are seeing this and they will join. They'll get information that empowers them. And also, once I am off, I will end up on your For You page, or you'll get notification of lives when I come on Mondays through Fridays. And that goes for YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Make sure you're liking, sharing, subscribing, hitting the notification bell. that's how other people start to see it as well. Is it okay to do a name change on naturalized certificate after citizenship application approval? Yes, that's one of the perks of citizenship is you can get to change your name at that point. Um, when filing citizenship online, should we upload updated evidence? I do. Yes, absolutely. You want to keep them posted on updated evidence. What's the cost for work permit category CO9 at 0 or 26? So I'd have to look at the chart. That there are instructions that you'd have to look at. What with our team, we go through the process of verifying fees when we are building our client's case and putting the application together. I don't answer specific questions about those right now. Can a green card holder file for, okay, so I answered that. Do they interview on Saturday? So I have never gotten an interview on Saturday, but for some reason I feel like I have heard of those. I haven't gotten them though. Is it okay to do a name change? Okay, so I answered that. Go ahead and put your questions in the comments. I'm just scrolling through to see if I missed anything. Um, Thanks for the follows. Thank you. Now, keep in mind that the information here is general information and it's not legal advice. So, always make sure you're scheduling an appointment to get legal advice specific to your situation. How long can a permanent resident? Okay, so I answered that. Looks like I answered a lot of the questions here. They rejected my form I-485 and N-765 without having my EAD. So I'm not sure, if they rejected it, there's some kind of mistake there or something that's missing. So it's important to jump on that and fix it ASAP. 2 days ago, I get approved for work card. So it will take how long to get work card by mailbox? So I'd say give it a week. My visitor visa expiring next March. When is the earliest I can reduce? I believe it's 6 months before it expires. Um, Contact the embassy to just get that verification. They reject okay, so I answered that. I sponsored my unmarried son since 2020. Now I became a citizen. How long does it take, please? 5 to 7 years still. So it's around the same time as a green card holder. But let me see. How old is your son? I think you just said unmarried son. If your son is under 21, then that's definitely going to be a plus. You can file the AOS, which the AOS is going to help give temporary protection from any kind of removal while you're going through the process. If they're 21 or over, it's not, it's 5 to 7 years. Do you need a lawyer when filing the paperwork? So, yes. Right now, I'm going to tell you straight up. If you, what I will say is legally, are you required to have a lawyer? No, you can choose not to have a lawyer. But right now, things are getting so complicated. Changes are happening so fast. Procedural requirements are becoming so specific and strict that you should not be risking it. And that is where I make the argument you need a lawyer, right? Because I don't want you to make mistakes that are going to be devastating, because a mistake can be devastating. So, and then I think one thing that people need to get away from right now is, I noticed you said, do I need a lawyer to file the paperwork? This is not about the paperwork. I am not telling you that you need a lawyer because of paperwork. I'm telling you, you need a lawyer because of the complexity of the immigration law, right? The paper it asks specific questions, but behind each question is a legal requirement that if you don't understand why that question is there and you make a mistake on it, it's gonna be problems. So get away from the idea that this is just paperwork. This is your future. This is your life. This is about immigration law right now, the state of it, and how it's going to affect you and your life. Okay. So just keep that in mind. Now is not the time to be going to the corner store, the backside of a 7-Eleven where they have, a so-called notario who does immigration paperwork. Now is not the time to be going to those people. Okay, because I've seen them mess people's paperwork up, and now it's going to get worse based on everything that's happening. What if your spouse files the I-130 and the priority does not become current before stay ends? Great question. Exactly. So that's exactly what I'm getting at. So if you file the I-130 and the priority date does not come current before stay ends, you need to leave, right? If you want to not be stuck here and you want to not be undocumented, you have to finish the process outside of the United States. Because if you overstay at that point, you're in trouble because you're not going to qualify unless your spouse goes for citizenship, unless they qualify right now. And can we count on a 2 month processing time for citizenship that everything runs smoothly? Probably not, because citizenship is going to take longer now because of all the checks. So if you have a green card holder spouse and they file I-130, but your priority date is not current before you leave, before your time ends, expires, the safest thing is you have to do it at the embassy. Wait for your process outside of the US. Or else it's going to be a regret. Unless you have another qualification. Good evening. My work permit was sent out in last year, but I didn't get it, and now it is expired. So yeah, you're gonna have to work through that, because if it's expired and you didn't get it, there are two things going on. You didn't get it, it's expired. So now it's expired, you can't necessarily tell them to send you an expired work permit. So you probably have to, and strategically, I don't want to tell you to do something. You shouldn't be taking action on me telling you just through this live. But one of the things I would look at is just applying for another one, because if you have and you don't have a copy of it, so you'd probably have to just apply for a new one because the other one expired. You don't have proof you got it, so it would be hard. Maybe right. So if you need assistance, give us a call and we can talk through more strategy. But how old can a child be to file for parent 21 or older? Thanks for the follow, Brain Skull. I appreciate it. Um, what must I do to get it back? Okay, so yeah, you probably have to just apply for another work permit. I-130 approved and I-485 is pending after RFE was sent requesting name discrepancy. What's next is a waiting game at this point. As long as they got the response to the request for evidence, it's a waiting game right now. All right, so now I'm on Instagram. Hi on Instagram. Put your questions in the comments now so that I can answer your questions. I'm gonna be on Instagram for a little bit, so type your questions in very quickly. What I'm gonna do is scroll to the top and go through questions from the top down to give more people time to put questions in. Can two DUI convictions be vacated? That really is a criminal law question. You need a criminal lawyer who can help you to possibly pursue those options. So that may be a possibility, but that's not my area. I can tell you what the immigration consequences of DUIs are, but I can't tell you whether it will be vacated. Are you seeing an increase in global entries being revoked? So I don't really focus on the global entry aspect of the immigration. Going to the citizenship interview, do you have to carry the disposition? A great question. Yes. So, any offense that you have, any criminal offense, you need to have the certified disposition of the offense. That they're definitely going to want to see that, especially now. But here's the thing, citizenship, if you have any issues in your background, you need to have an immigration attorney. Whether you don't or you do, you need to have one, because guess what now? They're not just looking at it and saying, okay, this is not on the list of things that stops you from being a citizen. They're not doing that anymore. What they're doing is they're gonna say, that looks bad. That's really not looking good for your good moral character. So tell us, what good have you been doing that we can say that outdoes what the offense, right? So if you have, say, a DUI, since we talked about DUI, you have a DUI and you show them this disposition, they're gonna look at that and they're not gonna be like, okay, just one DUI, okay, we'll let it slide and give you the citizenship. No, they're gonna be like, this looks really bad. And furthermore, we looked at where you live, the area you live, and not a lot of citizens get DUIs in that area. So it looks pretty bad for you right now. But is there anything you can show us, anything else you can show us to make this up, to show that you are a good person? And that it's going to be up to you now to be able to show what have you done to be rehabilitated. Have you complied with court orders, maybe for, say, if it's a DUI, maybe for some traffic school, maybe rehab? Have you done volunteer work? Have what does the rest of your life look like? Do you take care of your family? Do you take care of your debts? Are you looking responsible in other areas? No, it's going to be a lot of more work. And everybody has to do this, by the way, but especially if you have any issues like that, traffic tickets, high debt, right? If you have a delinquent debt, delinquent child support, you are going to want to make sure you can explain it. You can show how you're rehabilitated, how have you made it right, because now they want to know that, and they want to know that about everybody. Furthermore, you're going to want letters of recommendations or character letters from your neighbors, for example, and from your job, because they are saying if you don't come with enough evidence of the perceptions of people around you in your community, they can then take a little more time to go interview people in your community. I mean, so that's what they're saying. So you can stop them from doing that by presenting all the information. And this goes for everybody's applications, but especially you have to work extra hard if you have any issues in your background. Hello there. I want to know, how long does the I-130 take? It depends on what category you're in. If you're the immediate relative of a U.S. citizen, I would say a year, year and a half. Anything else can take years, just because those categories are, minimum of 5 years, maximum of 20 years. So that they put less priority on those I-130s because the process is long anyway. If you have a 10-year permanent resident and you separate from your spouse, can you still get citizenship, and how long? You can if you've met the 5-year, but you can't do it based on the 3-year. Unless you got VAWA. If you got a 10-year VAWA, then you can go for the 3-year. 10-year VAWA based on a US citizen spouse, you can go in 3 years from the date that you got approved. What happened if someone had a marijuana case like 20 years ago, did probation, but alien card doesn't have an expiration? So back in the early 2000s, after, unfortunately 9/11, they changed that. So you're supposed to renew your card. Like, for example, if you traveled on that card, they would maybe even reject that card at that point, because everybody's supposed to change over to the 10-year and get it renewed every 10 years at most. I have an extension I-751 pending since February 2023 and a valid stamp My 2 year green card was lost. Um, can I travel with this document? So you have the extension letter. Usually, you have to show the extension letter with your expired card. If you don't have the card, I would be very wary about traveling just with that extension letter. So you need to get a stamp. And I see here you have a valid stamp. So if you have a valid stamp, you're going to go by the expiration date on that stamp in your passport. As long as it's valid, it's current. I've had clients travel on the I-551 stamp, but you know, it just depends. You can travel on the stamp, but just make sure you have everything lined up. Make sure you have your I-90 showing it was lost, and make sure your I-551 stamp is current. And keep in mind, I am not telling you to travel. I'm not telling anybody to take any actions based on what I'm saying here in this live. You must get legal advice if before you make any personal decisions to take any actions. How long that it takes for you to have a biometrics after your application has been approved. It can range from 2 weeks to 2 months to get a biometrics. And sometimes I've seen it go 10 months. So for T visas, for a while, what I was seeing was biometrics was happening at the tail end of the process. So we would wait 10 months, and then on month 11, they would call the client for their biometrics, and then by month 12, they're getting their decision. But that has switched around again to it's more on the front end of the process. Um, oh, thank you so much for the well wishes. I appreciate that. I have a record and I was deported. It was appealed and um, I'm not seeing, and the judge stopped grant me a card. Can I travel? So did the judge grant you a card? If you got the green card through the process, then you're a green card holder and you should be able to travel unless something new has happened or they've discovered something in your background that was never disclosed. But keep in mind, I'm not your attorney. I can't give you personalized legal advice. But if you went through the court, you got your green card, you have the right to travel as a green card holder, just like any other green card holder. Came to the USA February 2021, lost my 2 year green card. I've applied for a new one, never received it. I applied February 23, I-751, still pending, got divorced September 23rd. I have a valid stamp. Can I travel? So if you have a stamp, a valid current stamp, that should be enough to prove you're a green card holder. And I have had clients who have traveled, but this is not enough facts. So just make sure you talk to your attorney or you're getting personalized legal advice. My husband has a pending work permit since May. If we file the adjustment of status, does he have to refile for the work permit? So, how did he get the work permit? Usually, the work permit is connected to the adjustment of status. So, I'm a little confused as to how he got this work permit. If you've already filed an adjustment of status, you shouldn't be filing another one. That's going to create issues. Um, I-130 pending for husband. How helpful is it if I reach out to the mayor's office? So it depends on your circumstances, but the mayor's office, not so much the mayor's office, but congressional liaison helps. So either states your senator or representative may be able to help you with that. And each of their offices usually has an immigration liaison that can look into your case for you. And sometimes, in some cases, it does work out. So that may be an option, but it also depends on the reason. Is there a compelling reason that you would be reaching out? Hi, one of my friend is on a visitor's visa, and so what options do I have to work legally here? If you're on a visitor's visa, you're not supposed to work. But if you are here, I don't know if you said you're still on the visitor's visa. If you're here, it's very important to evaluate what your options could be. Let's see. I in pending adjustment, and does that cover me if I don't register in school based on financial hardship? My spouse is a citizen. So if you're applying for adjustment of status at the same time that you've applied for I-130, you qualify in every way, then you should be fine. But I don't know where the hardship or the school issue comes in. You can register for school, but if you're asking about financial aid, that's a whole different purview for me. I wouldn't be able to assist with the financial aid part. But yeah, if you're going through adjustment of status, you have temporary protection, unless, of course, there's something more to your story that disqualifies you from adjustment of status. But if you qualify for adjustment of status, you have it pending, you should be protected temporarily while your case is being decided. My AOS got delivered to the USCIS office in AZ. How long will it take for them to get back to me and at least notify they have seen it? So sometimes it could be 2 weeks, about 2 weeks, a week to 2 weeks, and it just depends on. You said AOS, is it marriage based? Is it VAWA? It depends. For example, VAWA, 3 to 4 months. When can I apply for a citizen? Came to US February 2021, lost my green card, I-751. So 5 years from the date you became a permanent resident. All right, so now I'm on YouTube and Facebook. Hello, everybody. Hi there, Pancita. Hi, Mike. Hi, Jades. Nice to see you. Hi, Accurate. All right. Can you please talk about approval of work permit, minimum and maximum time for work authorization approval on the marriage base, 3 to 6 months? I have been getting them sooner in 2 months. So the last one was 2 months from the date we filed. It was within 1 week of our client going for biometrics that we got the work permit, marriage-based work permit for her. So that is the timeline. Hi there, Marcia. I got my green card 1 week ago for 10 years. Congratulations. How long should it take me before I apply for citizenship? It depends. Did you get it through your US citizen spouse? If you got it through your US citizen spouse and you stay with your US citizen spouse for 3 years, then 3 years. If not, 5 years, or through any other category, 5 years. Is it safe to travel with parole authorization while my I-485 status is in review? My passport is from my control with my maiden name, and my parole is my marriage name. I would say that there is a little more risk with traveling with a travel document. And I am advising my clients that if they have the travel document, they need to understand the risk and they need to take responsibility for what happens, because if anything goes wrong, if you're outside of the country and they make a decision on your case, you're outside of the country and they suddenly schedule your interview and you can't get back in time for the interview, and they deny the adjustment of status, that could potentially affect your ability to get back into the country. That's just an example. So it just depends on your goals and whether the risk is worth it. Because the travel document is just saying, here, we're giving you this. More than likely, you'll get back into the country with it. But if we find a reason to keep you out, we can do that, right? That's what they are saying. So just keep that in mind. Um, you know, yeah, and I would have to know your facts. Definitely if you have something in your background that makes it worse. My husband and I had an interview scheduled for July 28, 2025. However, a few days later, we received a notification from USCIS indicating the interview had been canceled. In that case, the interview was canceled. It could be for any reason. It doesn't. They will probably they will reschedule it. I'm overstayed from Jamaica. My citizen daughter petitioned for me. My interview is next week. My records are clean. Should you be worried? Um, I don't know what your case looks like, what was submitted, but as long as everything is there and you have no basis for inadmissibility, why would you be worried? I guess my question is to you is why are you worried? Why is there anything you should be worried about? Is there anything coming to mind? If your gut, if your instincts are telling you, oh, that one thing is nagging at you and you're not sure how it's gonna affect your immigration, you need to get representation. Or at minimum, you need to talk to an attorney to get some advice. Can I apply for adjustment of status while my J1 waiver is pending? Great question. If you are inadmissible based on the 2-year foreign residency requirement, then no, you have to wait till that waiver comes through before you apply. At the time you're filing for adjustment of status, you must show at the time of filing that you're admissible. So if you file no with your 2-year foreign residency requirement ban, you are inadmissible at the time that you're filing adjustment of status. So I just got married and my wife wants to change her name to my last name before we file, but we don't currently live together because still in school, but I visit often. Can we still file it? I would say so. One thing, name, changing the name is not very, it's not one of those things that's high on the list. So it's so important to recognize what's top evidence, what's the things that you should be focused on, and maybe some of the nice things that the officers would like to see as a complement to the application. So one thing I can say is your last name is really not a focus. If you presented your application with a proof that your spouse changed her last name to yours and some pictures, you will have a problem. You're gonna have a problem with that application. They're gonna say this marriage is fake, right? Because the things that they focus on is what are you doing to build your lives together. So things I notice when sometimes people come to me and they come to me with a naive perspective of the marriage-based process. A naive perspective to me is like they just think all I need to do is have a marriage certificate, have the wedding pictures, and then change my last name, and I'm good to go. And actually, the officer sees that, and instantly the officer is probably it's going to trigger fraud, suspicions of fraud, and they're going to be looking at that application. They're going to be digging through everything, and you're going to go into an interview that's not going to be very easy or nice. So focus on important documents showing what are you doing as a married couple. When you get married, you're in a real marriage. The goal of the marriage is to focus on building your life together. You're not just sitting there dilly-dallying, right? As a married couple, your goal is to progress together. At least that's what it should be, to progress together through life. So if you are not doing that, then you're going to be behind. So joint bank accounts that are active, because empty bank accounts don't cut it either. That looks suspicious. So they want to see active bank accounts, payments, shared expenses, money moving back and forth between the two of you, shared assets, shared responsibilities like insurance, utility bills, meaningful things, right? So those are the things that you should be paying attention to. Last name, it's nice, but it's cute, but it's not going to get you approved or denied for your green card. I sent in my case and got receipt numbers. How long before USCIS to get back? So it just depends on what the case type is. I've been in the US from 2022, got married 2023, and my husband is a US citizen and my visa has expired. Should we do my adjustment of status by ourselves or through a lawyer? So I'm gonna be very straightforward. A lawyer. You're never gonna catch me saying do it by yourselves. Not now, especially not now. And that is because the processes in place, they are making it a lot more stringent, strict. So my concern based on my reading of the policies is any mistakes made can lead to a more complicated situation. Like for example, if a mistake is made, they reject or deny, and you've overstayed, they can quickly issue a notice to appear. Once they quickly issue a notice to appear, it means now you're in immigration court. They're not giving you a chance to get your green card through USCIS. If you want your green card, you have to do it through the judge. So it's is it worth it? Just get it right from the start. You don't want to be in a situation where you're seeking a lawyer to try to fix something, because that might be hard for the lawyer to do once it happens. For example, if you get a notice to appear, the lawyer can't just turn that around for you. No, the lawyer has to go to court and has to either try to file a motion to terminate the case, to close the case, or to go before a judge and do the whole shebang, which is really stressful. It's like a trial before the judge to get your green card. What happens if USCIS doesn't get back to you and your I-94 expires? So I'm not sure what you're applying for, though. If you applied before so some things that could be a problem, right? If you don't have a case pending and your I-94 is expiring, that could be a real problem. But in other cases, it may not. So this is where I'm saying you can't oversimplify the process. You can't just lump all case types into one. You have to understand in order to succeed and to have a smoother process, you really do have to understand procedural requirements, what comes next, what to file at the same time, what to file in what order, what to include in everything, how to make your application complete and correct the first time around. How long did it take? So if you get your work permit and SS, which is Social Security, and travel document from asylum, what would happen if you get married? Then if you get married to a US citizen, that could be another pathway to permanent residence. So at that point, you get permanent residence, then the asylum would no longer be required because now you're a permanent resident. But keep in mind that asylum is always going to be on record. So if you filed an asylum, for example, and then you got married to a US citizen, then you got your green card and you're like, okay, cancel the asylum. And then, in a few, maybe 2 years down the line, you decide to travel back to your country. That, for example, could raise questions about your asylum filing, and that could amount to accusations of fraud. So once you file an asylum, you always have to make sure you understand what that means, right? And what that means for your future and your ability to travel to certain countries, your country, if you're filing for asylum based on your country. Does a distant marriage with a joint bank statement and pictures with families and trips secure an approval? It just depends. So it depends. Or should I wait till we'll leave together before filing? Give us a call. You see, these are the questions that are for your attorney. So these are strategic questions, and you need to get an attorney. You can always give us a call. That's what we're here to do. All right, so let me come back to YouTube and Facebook. Can my cousin apply for asylum after 2 years entered in the US? If there are changed circumstances or if there were exceptional circumstances, that stop them from applying within the deadline, then asylum could still be a possibility. So they can definitely give us a call. For example, if they were here on TPS or if they were here on parole, and the conditions in the country has gotten worse, and now they're losing TPS or parole, asylum could be an option at that point. Do I need to maintain F1 visa status with the school? I have no criminal background, I-130 and EAD approved, I-45 pending for 1 month after interview. So, just for the sake of maintaining your, student status, it doesn't hurt to maintain your F1, but you do have the I-485. So until that I-485 is approved, then definitely move forward with your student visa. What does that mean? USCIS has completed its security review of the above application and processing has resumed, so they're probably doing background checks. What's the likelihood of denial for a spouse married to USC in their 50s and 70s age? So, age gap is going to be a trigger for a fraud review. And you just have to be ready. Yes, couples get married 20 years apart and it's completely real. There's no fraud involved, but large age gaps will still trigger it. So make sure you're presenting the evidence to be able to succeed. And that's once again where we can assist. Good evening, Attorney Tharp. Hi there. My 23-year-old child, I-130, has just been approved. She's an overstayed. What is next in the process? So, no, if you're a U.S. citizen, you file the I-130 before they were 21, then adjustment of status can still move forward. If you are a green card holder who filed an I-130, or you are a U.S. citizen who filed an I-130, and for that child who's over 21 or over, unfortunately, adjustment of status is not going to be the option here. So you need to call us and talk to us. We can see if there are other options available, or there's what's called the I-601A waiver. The I-601A provisional waiver enables them to get forgiveness for the overstay and then go travel when it's time for the interview. They will travel to the interview and get at the interview they won't hold the overstay against them, and then they would get back within 2 weeks of leaving. So let's talk in an appointment and talk about some options. I want to start YouTube channel, but afraid if it will affect my VAWA case process for in the interview. Great question. That is a very valid concern. And that's because they are looking at a number of aspects of one's background, including social media. And that does include your YouTube channel. I'm pretty sure they would look that up as well, or they could find it. And they also are going to look at the content. You'd have to be very careful about the content because they are also now using very subjective ways to determine whether you qualify. Like they're looking at, is the content, does it represent anti-Americanism, right? Mostly looking at anti-Semitic statements, looking at anything that presents maybe criticism, unfortunately, which it raises serious questions about the First Amendment rights of individuals here in the US. Yes, even immigrants have First Amendment rights. So you have to be mindful of that. The other thing is now with VAWA, if you are starting a channel and it's showing that you're working, do you have a work permit? But even if you don't have a work permit, the one positive benefit of the VAWA is they don't hold working without a work permit against you. So I would just say it's what's the content of your channel, and will they nitpick at it? Because that's the questionable part of this anti-Americanism evaluation is what are they what do they determine as anti-Americanism? Is it maybe if for example, maybe it could be anything, and that's the dangerous part. So I would say that would be my reservations there. Hi there, Karen. Nice to see you. Hello, please. What category of EAD is valid for 1 year? So it depends. So, for example, parole provides for 1 year, but many of the work permits that we are getting approved for our clients are 4 year and 5 year work permits. My friend did her biometrics for T visa in April, still no BFD or work permit. Should she be worried? No. Every is something. Some of the processes are moving at a trickle, and this a lot of people are in that bucket. So she should not be worried. Can undocumented Trevor Okay, can undocumented travel domestic? No, I would say, it's a big risk. If you travel, they are pulling people off of the roads, out of their cars, at work, in public areas, train stations, off buses. So, can you imagine going through an airport, having to provide your ID? That is definitely not going to be a safe spot. Actually, that's a really good spot for them to nab some people. Hello, I filed my I-130 for wife, and I'm told 11 months until case decision. Is this accurate? I would say don't hold your breath. I've seen that before. So 11 months, yes, I would say it takes about 12 months, but I've also seen that whole status update thing that tells you how long to expect. It's just up and down. It really brings people on a roller coaster. I got BFD EAD, but on H-1B visa, want to use my EAD. Is it safe to use EAD under deferred action? Yes, you can use that EAD. That's what it's there for. After getting expedited request approved for T visa, in how many days they will process it? So expedited request, I would say, you think expedited request means tomorrow. Their idea of an expedite, expect at least 30 days. What is the cost you charge for petition if my fiance married me? So we first talk to you in an appointment, and the way that we help you to we can advise you and also save costs is to make sure that you first go into a strategy session where we talk about your case, we make sure you qualify, and then we provide you the quote based on the facts and what it's going to take. Can undocumented travel within the US domestic? Okay, so I answered that. Is there a way to contact the congressperson to request for update on my I-485 case since it's been in review since December 2024? So keep in mind, here is the deal. Is it outside of case processing time? Sometimes the congressional liaison may not, they may ask that question as well. But if you have an emergency, then that the congressional liaison may be able to help you there. You can go to senate.gov or I don't know where you'd find your congressperson, but I know senate.gov does give the state senators information. You can start there on their website, and usually they'll have a part where they have immigration liaison. Will USCIS accept a judge's divorce judgment for Form I-730? Absolutely. A judge's order is definitely a solid for a divorce. I applied for renewal of work permit in December, and online it says if not received by 25th of August, and I didn't, should I write to them? Is it advisable or should I wait? So it just depends. It doesn't hurt to write to find out the status of it or to give them a call first. Can I apply for an ID card and open a bank account as an undocumented? Yes, so some banks still allow immigrants to open bank accounts. It's I don't believe anything has changed there. All right. So I'm going to I see TikTok moving. So I'm going to answer some more questions on TikTok and then head out. Asking for a friend what will happen if his wife don't show up for the interview. Great question. I would say if he is feeling this way, he needs to be proactive and look at other options, because if he shows up to the interview without the wife, he's in trouble. He's going to get a denial notice and they don't care why, right? So make sure he can call our office. This is exactly what we work on. And let's see if there are any other options available. How long TVs had to take to get to approve? So it's taking almost 2 years now. So keep that in mind. You do get the work permit and you get protection while you wait. After I-485 interview, RFE for polio was asked. We sent it in, I received a text. How long for a decision? It could be for a month, it could be 4 months, it could be even a year. It just depends on the how long they manage their caseload or how much they manage their caseload. Yes, definitely, Kenny. That we would be able to advise, because we see situations like this all the time, and we've seen our clients get their 10-year green card without that spouse. But it depends on what they're going through. Hello card is being produced since 24 August, still no update yet. Is it normal? 24th of August, card is being produced. It's going to take a week for that card to go out, and usually it will indicate card has been mailed. Can a juvenile case affect my I-485 decision? Had interview I-130 approved already. It depends on what happened in the juvenile case. What are the facts? What's it would have to look it. They have a juvenile exception. I think if you're talking about a criminal record, they do have a juvenile exception. Would have to see if you fall within that exception. Is it true that there is a surcharge fee to pay with the adjustment of status fees? So they have, so I believe for that's for the asylum. I believe they've increased the fees. I don't know about a surcharge, but it has increased. My mom come visit and I apply for a green card. We have interview. What should I expect? Just be ready. Make sure you have everything, proof of your relationship, like your birth certificate. Bring your original birth certificate. Make sure you bring original passport, proof of entry, the I-94. Usually when it comes to the parent child, it's not so much, showing bona fides, unless for some reason there is something off. Like if your mom changed her name, make sure she has proof of the change of name to establish she is that same person on your birth certificate. Make sure you both know what's on the fronts and all through the application. I-130, I-485. Make sure your affidavit of support is up to date and it will be approved. Make sure our sealed medical, if you didn't submit it, make sure you submit it. Can you change from asylum to a T visa? Not necessarily change from asylum, but you can apply for T visa at the same time. So one doesn't cancel out the other. So I would say 8 months to get T visa. Work permit right now after filing. I have an affirmative asylum case pending with my 3-year-old son. Can he apply for juvenile status? The SIJS is going to depend on his circumstances. It may be possible. If one of the parents is not present, maybe through neglect or mistreatment, and they are here in the United States, and SIJS may be an option, they can give us a call, and then we can go from there and work on that. All right, everybody, thanks so much for your time today. I appreciate it. I sent my AOS and it got delivered on Monday. My I-94 expires first week of next month and they haven't gotten back to me. Am I good? Give us a call, and if you want legal advice, it depends on what kind of case you're applying for. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night. Remember, and thank you so much for the love on TikTok. Thank you for all the great questions on YouTube, on Instagram. I really appreciate it. Now, if you want to make sure that you're going to approach your situation, your application for benefits correctly, you want to make sure that it's a smooth process, then make sure you contact us. We're 24 hours a day. Also, if you've gotten a notice to appear, if you want to understand how to approach removal, we are helping to defend clients against removal. So you can also call us to talk about your situation, and the sooner the better, because going to court and is could be your chance to stay here still. Going to court does not mean that you will be deported. There may be options for you there too. So give us a call, guys. That's what we do. We look at the possibilities, not the impossibilities. And that's why we've been successful for our clients. So give us a call. We're looking forward to hearing from you. Otherwise, you'll see me tomorrow. So make sure you're following, you're liking, you're doing something so I can hit your For You page when or you get notified I'm live so you can come on. If I didn't get to answer your questions, please save those questions for next time, which should be tomorrow. All right. Have a good one. Bye bye.